Leonardo da Vinci, a man centuries ahead of his time, a visionary who saw the invisible, shaped the future, and defied the limits of art, science, and engineering. From breathtaking masterpieces to revolutionary inventions, his genius knew no bounds. But who was the mind behind Mona Lisa? What secrets did his notebooks hold? Join us on an extraordinary journey into the life of history's greatest polymath. On April 15, 1452, in the quiet village of Vinci, nestled in the rolling hills of Tuscany, Leonardo da Vinci was born. His father, Ser Piero da Vinci, was a respected notary, while his mother, Caterina, was a peasant woman. Being born out of wedlock meant that Leonardo was ineligible for formal academic training in the classical subjects typically reserved for the sons of noble families. However, this did not hinder his boundless curiosity, which was evident from a young age. As a child, Leonardo exhibited an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He spent hours observing the patterns of nature, how birds took flight, the way water flowed over rocks, and the intricate structures of plants. His innate artistic talent also became apparent early on, as he covered his notebooks with sketches of animals, landscapes, and imaginary machines. These fascinations would later shape his approach to both science and art, blending rigorous observation with creative speculation. Despite the lack of formal schooling in Latin and classical philosophy, which were essential for scholarly pursuits, Leonardo was given a basic education in reading, writing, and mathematics. His father, recognizing his extraordinary artistic abilities, arranged for him to apprentice under Andrea del Verrocchio, a renowned Florentine artist and craftsman. This decision would set Leonardo on a path that would not only refine his skills as a painter, but also introduce him to the world of engineering, mechanics, and anatomical studies. Leonardo's childhood was marked by a restless curiosity that defied traditional learning methods. Rather than simply accepting established knowledge, he sought to understand the fundamental principles of the world around him. This approach would define his life's work, shaping him into a polymath whose inquiries transcended the boundaries of art and science. At the age of 14, Leonardo da Vinci moved to Florence, one of the great cultural centers of the Italian Renaissance. His father arranged for him to become an apprentice in the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio, a highly respected artist, sculptor, and engineer. This was a turning point in Leonardo's life, as Verrocchio's workshop was not only a place for artistic training, but also a hub for scientific exploration and mechanical innovation. Under Verrocchio's guidance, Leonardo mastered the fundamentals of painting, sculpture, and metalworking. He learned the delicate process of mixing pigments, preparing canvases, and using perspective to create depth in paintings. He also gained hands-on experience in bronze casting and architecture. This environment introduced him to the interdisciplinary nature of the arts and sciences, a concept that would define his future work. Leonardo's artistic abilities quickly surpassed those of his master. Legend has it that while assisting Verrocchio in painting the baptism of Christ, Leonardo's contribution, the depiction of an angel, was so strikingly realistic that Verrocchio vowed never to paint again. While the story may be exaggerated, it underscores Leonardo's extraordinary talent, even in his early years. Beyond painting, Leonardo's curiosity led him to study anatomy, mechanics, and hydraulics. Unlike most apprentices who focus solely on artistic training, he dissected animals to understand muscle structure, sketched detailed studies of machinery, and designed elaborate water systems. He began keeping notebooks filled with observations, experiments, and inventions, a habit that would continue throughout his life. Despite his immense talent, Leonardo faced a significant challenge. His lack of formal education in Latin and classical studies limited his access to scholarly texts. However, he compensated for this by relying on empirical observation and self-directed learning. He was determined to bridge the gap between artistic mastery and scientific discovery, a vision that would shape his revolutionary approach to knowledge. In 1472, at the age of 20, Leonardo da Vinci was accepted into the prestigious Guild of St. Luke, an association of artists and doctors of medicine in Florence. This officially marked his entry into the professional world of art and design. However, despite his undeniable talent, the path ahead was not without obstacles. While Florence was a thriving center of artistic innovation, it was also fiercely competitive. Artists like Sandro Botticelli and Domenico Ghirlandaio had already established themselves, leaving little room for a young newcomer to gain high-profile commissions. As a result, Leonardo initially worked on minor projects, assisting in large-scale works and refining his skills. He also began to experiment with techniques that would later define his unique style, including the intricate play of light and shadow, chiaroscuro, and soft transitions between tones, sfumato. During this period, Leonardo's interests expanded. Beyond art, he studied human anatomy in greater depth, secretly dissecting animals and later human cadavers to better understand muscle structure and movement. His fascination with engineering also grew. He devised architectural plans, improved canal systems, and designed complex machines, many of which were never built but showcased his visionary thinking. Despite his artistic and intellectual prowess, Leonardo's unconventional approach to learning and working posed challenges. He was known for leaving projects unfinished, frustrating patrons who sought more immediate results. His perfectionism and relentless curiosity often led him to abandon commissions midway as he became engrossed in new ideas. This reputation would follow him throughout his career, both as a testament to his genius and a source of professional difficulty. In the late 1470s, he received one of his first independent commissions, a large altarpiece for the chapel of San Bernardo. However, records suggest that he never completed it, reinforcing the perception that while brilliant, he struggled with commitment to singular projects. His restless mind was always in pursuit of the next great discovery, a trait that would define both his greatest triumphs and his most enduring challenges. By the early 1480s, Leonardo da Vinci had established himself as a promising artist and intellectual in Florence. However, he remained overshadowed by more established painters who secured prestigious commissions. Eager to expand his opportunities, he sought new avenues to apply his talents. This period marked the beginning of his work beyond traditional art, as he delved deeper into anatomy, engineering, and scientific experimentation. One of his first major breakthroughs came in 1481, when he was commissioned to paint the Adoration of the Magi for the monastery of San Donato. This ambitious project showcased Leonardo's evolving artistic vision, dynamic composition, expressive figures, and masterful use of perspective. However, true to his nature, he left the painting unfinished, abandoning it when a greater opportunity arose. That same year, Leonardo offered his services to Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan. In a now famous letter, he presented himself not as a painter, but as a military engineer. He outlined his ability to design innovative weapons, fortifications, and water systems, demonstrating a keen understanding of mechanics and hydraulics. While his engineering skills impressed the Duke, it was ultimately his artistic abilities that secured him a position in Milan. During this time, Leonardo also made significant contributions to anatomy. He studied the human body extensively, dissecting cadavers and meticulously documenting his findings in detailed sketches. His drawings of muscles, bones, and internal organs were centuries ahead of their time, capturing physiological structures with unparalleled accuracy. His growing interest in flight led him to design early concepts of flying machines, inspired by the anatomy of birds and bats. He theorized that humans could achieve flight with the right mechanical assistance, an idea that predated the development of aviation by over 400 years. Though many of his ideas remained theoretical, Leonardo's early years in Milan marked a crucial period of discovery. His ability to merge art and science was becoming increasingly evident, and his reputation as a visionary thinker began to take shape. Leonardo da Vinci's years in Milan, under the patronage of Ludovico Sforza, marked a period of intense creativity and intellectual expansion. While primarily employed as a court artist, he immersed himself in engineering, anatomy, and scientific experimentation, solidifying his reputation as a polymath. One of his most remarkable artistic achievements during this time was The Last Supper, 1495-1498, painted in the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie. Unlike traditional depictions of the scene, Leonardo's version brought realism and psychological depth to the composition. He captured the precise moment when Jesus announces that one of the disciples will betray him, with each apostle reacting uniquely. His innovative use of perspective and light created an almost theatrical effect, making the painting one of the most studied works of art in history. Parallel to his artistic endeavors, Leonardo continued to explore scientific principles. His anatomical studies reached new levels of complexity as he dissected human cadavers, documenting muscles, tendons, and internal organs with astonishing precision. His notes contain some of the first accurate descriptions of the human heart and brain, including insights into the function of the aortic valve, discoveries that predated modern medical knowledge by centuries. Leonardo also made significant contributions to engineering. He designed sophisticated hydraulic systems for Milan, proposing canals and flood control mechanisms that demonstrated an advanced understanding of fluid dynamics. His notebooks from this period include sketches of machines that anticipated modern inventions, such as a rudimentary helicopter, ornithopter, an armored vehicle resembling a tank, and intricate mechanical devices for lifting heavy objects. Despite these groundbreaking ideas, many of his inventions were never built. His notebooks, filled with observations and blueprints, remained largely unpublished during his lifetime, meaning his scientific contributions did not directly influence contemporary developments. Nevertheless, his ability to synthesize art, science, and engineering in ways that no one had done before cemented his legacy as a true Renaissance visionary. By the late 1490s, Leonardo da Vinci had firmly established himself as one of the most esteemed artists and intellectuals of his time. His position in the Milanese court under Ludovico Sforza granted him access to influential patrons, allowing him to expand his pursuits beyond painting and into engineering, military design, and scientific inquiry. The completion of The Last Supper in 1498 brought him widespread acclaim. The fresco was immediately recognized for its groundbreaking composition and emotional depth, setting a new standard for religious art. However, Leonardo's experimental technique, using tempera and oil on dry plaster rather than traditional fresco methods, made the painting deteriorate quickly, leading to challenges in its preservation. His reputation as an engineer and scientist also grew. He was frequently consulted on military fortifications and urban planning, offering innovative solutions for strengthening city defenses and improving water management systems. His designs for advanced weapons, including multi-barreled cannons and machine-like crossbows, intrigued military leaders, though few of his ideas were realized. Despite his fame, political turmoil in Milan disrupted his stability. In 1499, French forces invaded the city, overthrowing Ludovico Sforza. Leonardo was forced to flee, leaving behind unfinished projects, including an ambitious bronze equestrian statue for the Duke, one of his greatest unrealized masterpieces. Following his departure from Milan, Leonardo traveled across Italy, working for powerful figures such as Cesare Borgia, a ruthless military leader. Serving as Borgia's chief military engineer, he surveyed fortifications and devised innovative maps, showcasing his mastery of topography and strategic planning. By the early 1500s, Leonardo returned to Florence, where he found himself in the company of Michelangelo and Raphael, two emerging artistic giants. Although revered, Leonardo's perfectionism and tendency to leave projects incomplete led to frustrations among patrons. Nevertheless, his intellectual versatility and groundbreaking ideas solidified his status as a Renaissance icon, earning him commissions and admiration from scholars, artists, and rulers alike. Despite Leonardo da Vinci's widespread recognition, his career was fraught with challenges that stemmed from both external circumstances and his own complex nature. His unorthodox approach to work, tendency to leave projects unfinished, and unconventional lifestyle often placed him at odds with patrons and critics alike. One of the greatest obstacles in Leonardo's career was his perfectionism. He was known for meticulously refining his work, sometimes delaying completion indefinitely. His unfinished projects, such as the Adoration of the Magi and the grand equestrian statue for Ludovico Sforza, frustrated those who commissioned him. Patrons often grew impatient with his inability to finalize his masterpieces, leading to financial uncertainty throughout his life. Leonardo also faced significant resistance in the scientific community. Unlike scholars of his time, who relied heavily on ancient texts, Leonardo's approach was rooted in direct observation and empirical study. His revolutionary anatomical drawings, which accurately depicted muscles, organs, and even embryonic development, challenged prevailing medical theories. However, because he never published his findings, his insights remained largely unknown and did not influence contemporary medical practices. His personal life, too, was a source of intrigue and controversy. Leonardo never married, had no known romantic relationships, and maintained a private existence. In 1476, he was briefly accused of sodomy, an accusation that, if proven, could have led to severe punishment. Though the charges were ultimately dropped, the incident cast a shadow over his early career and has fueled speculation about his sexuality among historians. Another challenge arose from political instability. When the French invaded Milan in 1499, Leonardo lost the support of Ludovico Sforza, forcing him to leave behind unfinished projects and seek new patrons. Later, working for Cesare Borgia, a ruthless and feared military leader, tarnished his reputation among some circles. Despite these obstacles, Leonardo remained steadfast in his pursuit of knowledge. While his contemporaries saw him as an exceptional artist, his true genius, his fusion of science, engineering, and art, was not fully appreciated until centuries later. His ability to persist despite challenges speaks to his enduring brilliance and resilience. By the early 1500s, Leonardo da Vinci had reached the height of his intellectual prowess, yet his later years were marked by both profound achievements and a growing sense of restlessness. Although widely respected, he struggled with unfinished projects and shifting political landscapes, forcing him to move frequently in search of stable patronage. In 1503, he returned to Florence and began work on what would become the most famous painting in history, Mona Lisa. Unlike traditional portraits of the time, this masterpiece was infused with an enigmatic quality, achieved through Leonardo's mastery of sfumato, a technique that created soft, seamless transitions between colors. Though never delivered to a patron, Mona Lisa remained in his possession until his death, suggesting he viewed it as a deeply personal work. During this period, Leonardo also undertook one of his most ambitious projects, the massive mural, the Battle of Anghiari, intended to decorate Florence's Palazzo Vecchio. However, technical difficulties and his experimental approach led to its abandonment. This failure, coupled with the rising influence of younger artists like Michelangelo and Raphael, left Leonardo increasingly disillusioned with Florence. Seeking new opportunities, he moved to Rome in 1513 under the patronage of Giuliano de' Medici. Though he was given financial support, he found himself overshadowed by Michelangelo and Raphael, who dominated the artistic scene. Restricted from major commissions, Leonardo turned his focus to scientific studies, particularly anatomy and hydraulics. In 1516, at the invitation of King Francis I of France, Leonardo relocated to Château du Clos-Lucé, near the royal court. In Amboise, the French king held Leonardo in high esteem, granting him a generous stipend and treating him as an esteemed intellectual rather than merely an artist. Although physically weakened, Leonardo continued his studies, reflecting on a lifetime of discoveries. In his final years, he organized his notebooks, ensuring that his ideas would endure beyond his time. On May 6, 1519, at the age of 67, Leonardo da Vinci passed away, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy, one that transcended disciplines and reshaped the course of art, science, and engineering. Leonardo da Vinci's influence did not end with his death in 1519. His vast collection of notebooks, filled with sketches, observations, and theories, contained ideas that would shape the course of science and technology for centuries to come. Though his contemporaries primarily recognized him as an artist, it was his scientific mind and innovative thinking that would leave a lasting imprint on the modern world. One of his most remarkable contributions was in anatomy. His dissections of human and animal bodies resulted in some of the most detailed anatomical drawings ever made, accurately depicting muscles, the human heart, the vascular system, and even fetal development. Many of his findings predated modern medical discoveries by hundreds of years, such as his insights into the functioning of heart valves. However, because he never published his work, the medical community remained largely unaware of his breakthroughs until centuries later. In engineering and mechanics, Leonardo's notebooks contain blueprints for machines that closely resemble modern inventions. His designs for flying machines, inspired by the flight of birds and bats, anticipated the principles of aviation long before the Wright brothers. His sketches of a primitive helicopter, a mechanical knight, and an early version of a tank showcase. His ability to envision technology far ahead of his time. His work in hydraulics and civil engineering also demonstrated his genius. He proposed designs for flood control systems, canal networks, and even diving equipment, recognizing the potential for human exploration of the underwater world. His studies of water flow contributed to later developments in fluid dynamics. Although many of his inventions were never built during his lifetime, his approach to observation, experimentation, and systematic inquiry mirrored the principles of the scientific method, which would become fundamental to modern science. His notebooks, once scattered and forgotten, were rediscovered and studied centuries later, proving that Leonardo's ideas were not mere fantasies, but visionary concepts that foreshadowed the future of science and engineering. More than 5 centuries after his death, Leonardo da Vinci remains one of the most influential figures in human history. His ability to bridge the gap between art and science, intuition and logic, creativity and technical precision has solidified his reputation as the quintessential Renaissance genius. His work continues to inspire artists, engineers, scientists, and thinkers across the world. In art, Leonardo's masterpieces, especially Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, remain the most studied and revered paintings in history. His pioneering techniques, such as sfumato and chiaroscuro, transformed the way light and shadow were used in visual representation. Modern art historians and conservators still analyze his work to uncover the secrets behind his artistic brilliance. Science and engineering, many of Leonardo's conceptual inventions have become reality. His studies of flight predated modern aerodynamics, his sketches of armored vehicles foreshadowed modern tanks, and his anatomical studies contributed to the foundation of medical illustration. Even today, researchers examine his notebooks for insights that could apply to contemporary scientific advancements. Leonardo's multidisciplinary approach to knowledge is perhaps his most lasting legacy. At a time when specialization dominates modern academia, his life serves as a reminder of the power of curiosity and interconnected thinking. His method, observing nature, questioning assumptions, and merging disciplines, aligns with contemporary approaches in fields like biomimicry, artificial intelligence, and robotics. In popular culture, Leonardo's name has become synonymous with genius. Books, films, and documentaries continue to explore his life and theories, reinforcing his influence beyond academia. His Codex Leicester, a collection of scientific writings, was purchased by Bill Gates in 1994, reflecting how even the world's leading innovators today seek inspiration from his work. Ultimately, Leonardo da Vinci's greatest contribution was his relentless pursuit of knowledge. He exemplified a way of thinking that transcends time, one that encourages curiosity, imagination, and the relentless exploration of the unknown. His legacy is not just in his art or inventions, but in the mindset he left behind, to observe, to question, and to dream beyond the boundaries of what is known.